Hi and welcome to the first edition of Prop by the Bar. We're coming to you from the world-class venue of Geelong Cellar Door, located at Little Mella Street in Geelong. My name is Michael Stefano and I've been a real estate agent for 17 years and I'm the Managing Director of Gartland Property, a Geelong-based firm that covers all areas of the market including residential, commercial and industrial. My co-host is Gareth Kent. G'day Gareth.
Hey Mike. I'm a certified property valuer. I've been a second generation valuer. I am also the director of Preston, Rowe, Paterson Valuers in Geelong, and I've been working in the industry in all segments for about 16 years.
So being two people that have lived, breathed property in the Geelong market, we decided to share our passion for property and put this short segment together to have a chat about the local market in general, and in particular the effects that the COVID-19 pandemic has had to date. We also invite you to contact us via the displayed details if you have any questions or topics, and we will answer any questions in following episodes.
So Mike, everybody's asking at the moment, what's going on with COVID? How does the property market affected by COVID? One of the fundamentals things we look for in property market is the demand and supply curve. That's how you and I define markets. So from an agent's point of view, how have you seen the demand currently for property in this COVID situation?
Well, it's all relative. It's all relative. We do see that supply demand at the moment. There is far less stock on the market than there was this time last year, but that is keeping the supply demand and keeping prices in check. So what we found was that property over the June quarter actually increased by 1.4%. Now that is down from the same period last year. I think it was around about 2.7%. But that's still showing great confidence in Geelong market.
Well, if you look across the whole 12 months, it's 6.8% growth across the Geelong region, and you can't really have any issues with that, really, can you?
No, you can't, and that's the beauty about the Geelong market is that we get sustained slow growth all the way through. We're different to the capital cities that get spikes, and that's why you do see them, with big losses in periods. So, through different, whether it's been credit crunch or the Royal Commission or whatever the case may be, Geelong has always just seemed to steadily increase.
And one thing I've noticed, and I think a lot of people out there have noticed, just as mum and dads, is that we in Geelong are really lucky to have a really good, strong cohort of local agents that have twisted and changed their business models to cope for the changing environment. We've got people doing 3D cameras, we've got people doing videos from all over the place to sell property and auctions on phones. It's been a whole different environment for purchaser and for vendors. And has that been really difficult to deal with?
Look, it has been a changing beast, and we've just had to, adapt as new lockdowns come, and every day brought us something different. But it brought different technology into, as you said, whether it was virtual tours or 3D models, another bit of auction, equipment or program was Openn Negotiation, which has worked well over this period, which is an auction system outside of.
It's an amazing system. Yeah, it's an amazing system.
Yeah, so there's been different things but as an industry, we've adapted really well.
Yeah, I agree, really good. And one of the things that Geelong's always going to benefit from is the fact that this property market was based on high population growth, and that still continued. In fact, it's got better because of COVID. So in some respects, there's more reasons to get out of the big cities now, and it's only going to help us. Yeah,
well, I think over the last 2 to 3 years, we've seen a near 3% increase, which has been one of the highest regional areas in Australia, and we've seen people from Melbourne in their droves come to Geelong for the sea change. But what we're kind of experiencing at the moment is a COVID change.
I was waiting for you to drop your new keyword.
Yeah, my new keyword,
COVID change.
The COVID change. So, and we're seeing one of the statistics I saw during the week was the keyword home office was in terms of this period. Had increased as a search engine at 830% in Victoria.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
So there's an inference where employers are allowing or have to allow people to work from home.
Yeah.
And those people now, they don't have to go to the office, so they're looking at different markets. They are looking at, I can work from home. So value for money, bang for buck, they're looking at Geelong, and it's a really good option for them.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. And when you look at the population base of what makes up Geelong, right, people used to think that it was all manufacturing, that we're all a blue collar worker. Well, for the last 5 years, it's changed and changed and changed. And we're now 30% of our population, which is the greatest percentage, are professionals and white collar workers. And many of them do travel to Melbourne and Sydney and other places for work, and now they can work from home. So it's only driving that demand even further and stronger.
Geelong's adapted beautifully. Where everyone thought it was doomsday when Ford and Alcoa and Shell, but we have adapted. We've become the insurance hub of Australia, essentially, with NDIS, TAC, WorkSafe, and we have become a white collar, CBD, and a growth in healthcare and education as well. So.
Yeah, and one of the big success stories is the stimulus and how well it's targeted the market, especially in the regional areas. For example, the building grant, right? The land sales really dried up there in May and April when the COVID started. But when the building grant was delivered by the government, Villawood was saying they sold 59 properties in the first week. So it's grown a huge amount of impetus back into the moving out of Melbourne, building your own home. You can get up to $45,000 at the moment to build a home as a first home buyer. In
regional Geelong. So there's never been a better time for first home buyers.
And the best thing about the building stimulus is that you had to build something under $750,000, I think it was, and which meant that when you got a medium house price in Melbourne, well over that, and down in Geelong it's only $530,000, where else would you come? You can actually come down here and build your dream home.
And the secret's out, Gareth. Everyone's discovered, how good we've got it down in Geelong. We're north-facing city with great amenity. We've got great beaches, great schools, some of the best wineries in the country. So why wouldn't you want to live in
I wouldn't want to live anywhere else, mate. I always say the best thing about Melbourne is seeing it in the revision mirror.
Fair enough. Yeah, obviously we've talked, a lot of positives, and there's a lot that we could, get to. But, what do you see as some of the potential weaknesses in our market?
Well, being a valuer, Mike, I'm always a bit sceptical. And one of the biggest things at the moment, or biggest threats that we have to the economy at the moment, I see as a whole, not just in Geelong, is access to funds. I mean, it's all good to have really good demand and have great, strong population growth, but when people aren't getting the funding and we're getting 90 days plus for settlements, it's starting to have a toll on the market as a whole. And I think that there's going to come some point where the government's going to have to, somehow let some of these reins loose and let the banks out, because at the moment they're still reacting and using policies that were reactions to the Royal Commission, and they haven't let go. I'm seeing every day people coming to me saying that there's not enough funds in the market, or that they're finding it hard to get the loans. Now, what we had before the COVID situation was a huge amount of second-tier lenders in the marketplace that were filling the void for people who couldn't meet the top four.
This is around Royal Commission time.
Yeah. And now when we went into COVID, those second-tier lenders without the big deep pockets of the banks have had to go into their shell, and they're not out there as prevalent as they were prior to COVID. Now that's a real risk to the market, because it's taken a lot of funds out of the market. So my biggest threat or worry in this market at the moment is access to funds for normal small business owners. Not so much your mum and dads who will always meet the bank criteria. I'm more worried about the small business owners. They've got to pay their home loans. They've got to put back into their businesses to get them going again. To me, if you ask me, the economy in Geelong and around all of Victoria is based on property and how well property goes.
Yeah. What I'm seeing from an agency perspective is that it's easier to probably get lending at the moment than it was this time last year. Is that typical of what you're seeing?
Yeah, it is, because we had the Royal Commission last year, and you've got to remember the Royal Commission was really supposed to come out there and whack us, and it never really did. It was all a bit of a hoo-ha, but nothing happened. So, the banks had all reacted. They reacted well before last year to these policies, and these policies now have been in train for 2 years. It's very hard for a bank to unwind policies as quickly as the government's expecting them to.
Anyway, plenty of positives in our market, I think.
There is plenty of positives, but I am the sceptical valuer.
So Gareth, we're probably both in agreement that Resi's ticking along pretty well, and the last quarter's been good residentially. And supply demand's probably been the key there too, to keep prices
population growth.
But commercial,
Yeah.
What are you seeing commercially?
Well, I think the first thing you've got to understand about commercial is there's markets within markets within markets. And people who just use a broad brush on commercial are doing it in injustice, right? So let's just talk industrial, for example, right? The industrial market in Geelong has been absolutely a massive surprise of late, right? We've got the recent sale of the McColl's transport sale out there in Breakwater, South Geelong, sold for $5.6 million. It was sold by really good local agents, Darcy Jarman. They did a great job with that campaign, and that actually came up to a yield of 7.36%, which is really, really tight for that type of property. You know, and so that shows the strength in the market. It also shows the willingness of people to invest, you know, $5.6 million into an industrial market, you know, in an established industrial area in the middle of COVID, which is really strength.
Well, I think if you've got the money and you've got the means, what are other options? You've seen the share market has fluctuated, you know, severely over the COVID period. You're getting little to no interest at bank. So, you know, industrial property is still providing a healthy yield. And we've, you know, as sales, we've seen a couple of good sales. You know, we had one at Cadman Terrace that recently sold.
I was going to mention that one.
Yeah, so we sold that at full freight at $995 plus GST.
Vacant possession?
Vacant possession, sold to an owner occupier, which has been really prevalent in our market. You'll borrow the money at cost of funds and service it cheaper than you can rent it. So, you know, if you've got the means, people are doing it.
It's fascinating that the owner-occupier market is nearly as strong at the moment as the investor market.
Oh, if not stronger. Yeah, if not stronger. So, but with that property, we had it listed 4 o'clock on a Wednesday, and it was sold 12 hours later for full price. And we could have probably sold that a few times over. So,
and another big sale off market, but I heard a whisper. There's a sale of something in Torquay Road.
Torquay Road, yeah. It was done by our firm, but it was
another big number.
Yeah, 5 million on a 6% yield, but good tenant,
blue chip tenant.
But it actually shows the confidence and the strength of the Geelong market. So people are coming into this market and seeing that we are a growth corridor, and have the confidence to invest down here.
And I think we've always worried that there's in the industrial part of the market, there's a huge number of industrial tilt slabs on the market or coming through, and so far they've been able to be absorbed in the market. There's still a demand for them. I actually, for one, thought that this market, the industrial tilt slab sort of stuff, we were going to oversupply it because there was so much in the pipeline. But as they've come on, they've been accepted by the market, and they're actually going hot at 5.5% and lower.
And a big portion of those have been owner occupiers. So again, coming back to that buy versus rent. If you've got the capability, why not?
We saw those 2 or 3 years ago. We were valuing those things at $1,500 a square metre. Now we're seeing them selling at $3,500 a square metre. The massive jump in price for industrial tilt slab market, for new product on the market, the demand is there, and it's driven again, I think, by the fact that our population's growing, that they need services, and there's businesses willing to come down and start up to meet those services. They're filling those sheds.
So obviously industrial's performing well. We've got a waning, I guess you could say, retail market.
Retail's really going to be interesting, mate. I could just say it's on hold, right? It's completely on hold. No one really knows what's going to happen until the September comes, or now. I think today the government announced an extension of the JobKeeper.
Till March next year.
So that could mean that we still get a stagnant growth or a hold on that for till March. We're not really going to know. At the moment, there is a growing number of vacancies. I actually spoke to Gay from your agency, and she said she's got up to 50% of her book of people in retails that have applied for the COVID waivers, for the rental waivers, and she's dealing every day with landlords who are unrealistic to the current terms. So I think that we are in for a really rocky ride still with retail.
Yeah, and look, I think retail as an economy on its own pre-COVID was probably,
it was a struggle anyway.
Yeah, it was in a recession if you have a look at it in its...
Well, if you have a look at Geelong, we've never really recovered from when Westfield was built.
Well, I think Westfield, what people don't recognise is when they expanded, they created about 100, the equivalent of 100 shops, Moorabool Street shops in terms of floor area. So that takes time to filter. But I'm talking, if you have a look, if you expand that out, retail, with e-commerce, online sales,
It's just struggle. There's just
it is
getting
a,
attacked
it is a
from every
market
side.
that, so it didn't take too much. COVID was the last thing that retail needed.
I think retail, if you look wider than just Geelong, the retail market is under pressure in every area, in every city even. So it's really become an issue. Yeah. But let's move on from retail. We've been in the doldrums of retail for a bit. So commercial office.
Yeah, that's probably the most interesting one for mine, because it's a bit of an unknown. I think as we've had some good government towers come up. Yeah. There's been some probably secondary value or secondary quality stuff that's been on the market for some time. What we've found pre-COVID was that good quality A grade office has gone fairly well, and I think what people don't realise is that over 3 years, our market managed to absorb 30,000 square metres of new office market back into the market. Now that's obviously going to have a detrimental effect to the lower D grade office space, because why would you go there if you can go to the A grade? Yeah, just the unknown, I guess, is if employees' attitudes are that people can work from home, we may not see the big spaces, but then I think the other thing, you raised it to me, may actually go the other way, where if social distancing is a thing, that people might need bigger floor plates. You've got to sit 1.5 metres apart. You might need twice as much space if you want them all under the same roof. I think we'll, pardon the pun, but have to watch this space. I think so, yeah. So bringing it back to the Geelong market, an exciting opportunity on the market, the Post Office. Oh yeah, fairly iconic building, corner of Gerringhap and Ryrie Street. Yep. On the market with Colliers at the moment. What do you see there, man? Geelong Post Office, one of the best little iconic buildings in Geelong. I shouldn't say little, one of the most grandest iconic buildings. What are your thoughts? Geelong. What best use for the building? It's just such an amazing building. It's got so many issues as well with it though, like it's to bring these heritage buildings into modern uses is a real challenge. Yep. We've got 1,300 square metres of land with nearly 2,000 square metres of office or building area, sorry. Internally we've got really modern lifts and things like that, so we've got some good parts about the building, but then we've also got issues with access, only off Ryrie Street. We've only got a car access through an easement off Gerringhap Street, so it's got its challenges, but it does sit between Geelong's civic centre, right, and the little Mallup hospitality precinct, which we're currently sitting in, right? It needs to tie the two together. So whatever happens to this building, it needs to bring those two elements together. Boutique hotel. Has to be, I reckon. We're situated right between the Geelong Arts Centre. They've just finished their multi-million-dollar stage 1, stage 2 about to commence. You've got the Heritage Centre and the library just behind it, and the art gallery as well. So it certainly is the art precinct. From a commercial standpoint, when you think about markets that are there for the taking at the moment, a hotel is there. We've got 90 to 95% occupancy rates. We've had those sustainable for a long time, and we really need more beds in Geelong. We need a lot more. Well, like you say, we're actually 2,000 beds short within the Geelong CBD. And in terms of location, as you said, it's right opposite Eat Street. Little Mallup Street, which is Geelong's answer to Flinders Lane. So wouldn't it make a beautiful hotel? Beautiful hotel. Art Series hotel. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, and you think about what's available out there in hotels around Geelong, there isn't really enough of the good stuff, and nothing's sort of central. Yeah. So we need more hospitality hotels central. We just had the conference centre sale, and that'll provide, I think, about another 60 or so beds out there in the gardens, but they're a long way from the CBD, they're a long way from the hospitality centre. Massive opportunity, and this is where I think outcome is more important on price. I know price is important, but outcome in terms of what it will do and transform in this CBD, I think is paramount. I think what people in the market, when you're looking at this building, when you're thinking about what's this going to go for, I think you need to have a look around at some of the other buildings that have been brought back. I like to coin the term Phoenix buildings that are heritage, beautiful old buildings brought back to life. There's a couple of people around Geelong who make a name of just doing this sort of stuff. But right now we've got buildings like the Regent Theatre that's been purchased by the Hamilton Group, that's going to, also another old building in the little Mallup Strip that's going to be brought back to life. If we had the Thomas the Jewellers also being brought back to life, and another iconic building on a corner, and that went for 3.7, and that was only on 400 square metres with 1,300 square metres of actual building area. Yep. We've got nearly double that over here. But seriously, what's it going to go for? Time will tell.
Anybody's guess.
Time will tell.
We'll find out.
We have. And I think we're out of time. So thanks for joining me, Gareth.
Thank you, Mike.
Just a couple of quick thank yous. Thank you to Chris from Moon Media, who's put this together. John Fitzgerald from JFitz Consulting, and of course Johnny Helmer from Geelong Salador. Thanks for having us.
If there's any topics you want us to discuss in coming up episodes, please feel free to send in your questions. One of the most interesting things tonight, Mike, has been how my wine glass magically fills up.
Good question for the viewers. See how many guests, how many times you've had a top up.
Yeah, that's why not. Throw that out there.